Hello, Bas.
Hi, Cam.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I will give the screen for you.
You can keep the screen at the presentation screen. That will be fine. I don't have any slide for this. I think all of us have listened with big enthusiasm to Ray and Pranjal's insights on how to drive revenue. And as a revenue manager myself, I'm very keen, of course, always. How can we get the most out of our business, and how can we contribute to that entire revenue process, but also your GOP. And I've been in the ability to work closely with both Ray and the Kokotel team, as well as with Pranjal and his team. So I'm going to steer a couple of questions to you from what we've seen from the audience coming in. All of you had some questions left for us in the registration form, but there was also one question which I just quickly want to raise, the question about, will we be able to get these presentations? I believe this entire webinar is on recording, so the recording will be shared after. So I also believe that the presentations will come to you after the end of this webinar. But yeah, let's get started with one question, particularly of a property that asked about review scores and how to increase or how to boost reviews and, of course, your profit if you don't have so many reviews. Ray or Pranjal, who wants to take the lead here? Probably have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, so I guess the question is more for the number of review itself to increase, I guess. Yes, so this is a bit of a tricky question also. Of course, we want to have more reviews, but we wish that many of the reviews are positive as well. So if we encourage every single guest, we have a bit of the fear to have more negative reviews as well. So we have had a lot of internal discussions in the past as well. In reality, what we do now is that whenever the time that we have a very good relationship with guests and we can see that someone has a very good experience at our property, we casually encourage and ask for guests to make a review. So that's will naturally turn out to come for the more number of positive reviews. We don't take, in a way, we don't take a risk of purely trying to increase the number of reviews by avoiding a bit of the risk of getting more number of negative reviews. Yeah. So that's how we do, and maybe Punjab can share some other best practices from other hotels.
Sure. So Bas, I think the right question is when you should start focusing on getting more reviews. So if you imagine a situation where your rating is, let's say, 6.7 or 7 on a scale of 10, and at that point of time you use certain processes and you get more reviews, probably it will, it will lower your rating further, right? So the right thing to do is first invest maybe 1 or 2 months in analyzing those reviews, make operational changes, make all the small improvements, small wins we can do by investing a small money in maybe room amenities and small things. Once you are ready with all those processes, then again analyze a small sample of reviews for a month or 2 months. See that now what is our rating now compared to last month. If you feel that now 80-90% is solved, that is the time when you want to put accelerator, paddle on accelerator and get more reviews. And for that, there are processes we provide a tablet application which can be placed at the checkout counter. So while people are paying their bill, we can throw that, hey, you are checking out from room number 305. Why don't you just provide your feedback? And once they provide a small feedback, next day they receive an email saying that, hey, why don't you post it on TripAdvisor? After 2, 3 days, 4 days, again we send a reminder, hey, maybe you might have missed, but we would love to, since you are a happy customer, we would love to hear your reviews on TripAdvisor or Holiday Check or on other platforms. So there are processes which can be implemented, but timing matters. Unless you are operationally in control of those parameters, generating more reviews can backfire.
Great, thank you. This is very good. I mean, Ray already mentioned, right? We don't want to have more negative reviews. So in summary, let's focus first on fixing your problems, analyze what's going right, but also go wrong before you want to get more reviews in. So yeah, thank you for the question from the audience. Another question that also comes to mind, and I think Ray already illustrated in his presentation as well, the way how to reply. I mean, it's working like a kind of a marketing tool, right? So generating for future guests good insights. Have Repup or maybe Kokotel measured what is the impact of not replying to review versus replying to reviews on the revenue or even the GOP?
So maybe I can just add some perspective here. Yeah. So we have seen different trends in different category of hotels. We have seen luxury, high-end luxury properties just responding 10% of it because they believe that every review is a positive review, and if they start replying, then that doesn't add value. But what we have seen is 100% of the negative reviews are replied by most of the aware companies in hospitality. Even if it is a luxury 5-star or a small brand which has very bad reviews. I don't want to name anyone, but there are so many aggregators and new age companies who are not on ground and they try to deliver services, and usually they are studied with negative reviews. Even those companies, they try to respond to 100% of negative reviews. But our understanding is, as a mid-scale or upper mid-scale brand, 70-80% of response rate should be maintained. That shows that you are serious about customer complaint. You are spending time as a management, you bother about their experience, and you are committed to deliver and improve your services. So more than fixing the problem, it shows your commitment as a brand that you are listening to each and every complaint across the globe, not just on one or two platforms, but you care about your customers coming from, let's say, small country or a small city also.
Okay, Ray, maybe something to add?
Yeah, it's hard to quantify the benefit of replying or damage of not replying in here, but I think I agree with Pranjal saying that the most important part is to reply to negative reviews. And negative review has some degrees in it also, so not to reply. Or sometimes I have seen the hotel owner fight with a guest over the negative reviews that they are writing on OTAs, which is really hurting your business. So in some cases that some very negative reviews that I write it by myself to post it, and sometimes it's Japanese guest. I write it very long reply in Japanese and try to make sure that the guests feel okay, and most importantly for future guests who are looking at OTAs feel comfortable to us.
And some of those replies, Ray, would you also take them offline? You mentioned you write very dedicated, long explanations and thank you notes in Japanese. Would you encourage people to say, okay, if it's a negative reply or not have those arguments online, would you take it offline, so not visible to future bookers, or would you always put that on online platforms?
Yeah, that's something we have never done in the past, actually. I know some hoteliers have been doing it to try to make it offline, or even trying to ask someone to delete certain things. We have done it only when there was a big misunderstanding on things. There's one or two cases that we approached separately by email to try to fix a misunderstanding. I think that was a misunderstanding of someone to be lost their wallet or something, which we really needed to fix the misunderstanding of that. But other than that is that we try to play it fair, and we reply in public, and we try to make it a positive impression to future reviewers.
Okay, great. A question from the audience as well, and although we more or less agreed, let's not talk too much about COVID, let's keep this positive and talk about reviews and profit. But these questions came across as well in the Q&A sent out, right? And maybe I want to rephrase that again, like we can't really explain how we get to COVID-19, but would you think that the reviews become a very incremental element getting us through COVID-19, and what will be changing maybe in the the way how the score applies. I mean, Pranjal, you mentioned about your net promotion scores, your benchmarking. Will that effectively change? So what is your, I would say, side on that part as a tech provider? But Ray, also from your side, how do you see that COVID-19 maybe feedback, because you recently opened again your first 3 properties, has that become more of an essence in dealing with guest feedback?
Yeah, so my take would be reviews are going to be the most influential aspect once we open up. A positive review from a traveler saying that, hey, I just went and I was really scared initially. This was my first vacation after COVID, and I went there. The overall experience was so great. The housekeeping did an excellent job. Rooms were so much sanitized. They were maintaining all the processes. There were new processes to ensure that safety and precaution, is taken care of. That will be a way better way to advertise your brand and your processes post-COVID than an advertisement in newspapers. So I think all the positive reviews post-COVID are going to be of great help and great asset for marketing. And it's a great opportunity for hoteliers post-COVID to leverage reviews as a way to, promote that, how they are helping their guests ensure a safe stay in the new normal scenario. And more than just an internal framework, it's going to be a benchmark now. Probably we did not care about certain things in certain segments, but especially in the lower mid-scale or mid-scale market, the overall standard and benchmarks will go up. So whatever standards we use to maintain internally for housekeeping, maintenance, and staff, that will change, and a new framework needs to be implemented, keeping in mind what our guests exactly want.
Okay, thank you, Pranjal. Ray, anything from your side? How do you see COVID-19 and reviews changing maybe the behavior of guest reply and reviews?
Yes, the 2 perspectives here, one is long-term and the second one is a little bit more short-term and a little bit tactical standpoint. The long-term is that I think that currently we only have domestic tourism, and the more important to have a repeat guest at this moment. So I can see that the more direct booking coming in a lot for our properties, and even through OTAs, I can see that some of them are coming back. Again and again, those Thai guests or expats for living in Thailand. So I think that our continuous efforts to improve ourselves and of course replying to their reviews and treat them well, I think it comes back to this kind of difficult time, even before talking about the CRM kind of initiatives. So that is something that I feel that an importance of the review. In a short-term perspective, I'm not sure if this is politically correct to say this, but now is a very good opportunity to get high review. Our rates are low, people's expectations are low, and like in any low season, review score tends to be high. The most difficult time for you to get a high review is a peak season, right? And particularly from Japanese guests, I don't like their very harsh way of looking at the service from Japanese guests. But right now is Thai guest, extremely low area, great time for hotel to increase the rate, and also the ranking in OTA. If you produce productions in OTAs, that we can get the higher ranking in OTA also. So I'm looking at it. The reason why that we're opening properties now can be those things like having a review score to be higher and more OTA ranking to be higher. So I think we're doing it as a result in this difficult situation.
Interesting. So ranking, I'm making a bit of a leap here to benchmarking, because you do have your competitors out there also opening the hotels, also being back in business. I know that Kokotel has its fair share of competitors per market that you're operating in. What are you using out of the tool to do the benchmarking, and what will that bring? So do you see yourself improving? Because it's hard to check your RevPAR versus their RevPAR, but probably you have also that data on the side to see, are your benchmarking not only improving from reputation score, but do you also see a stronger RevPAR score in your concept?
Yes. In terms of benchmark, we do compare review score with other competitors in the Repup function also. But we, rather than setting a benchmark of a specific hotel, we are always looking at 9.0 or 4.5 out of 5 as our target. And typically, and some properties get a higher score than others. And an example that Pranjal has mentioned, Chiang Mai relatively gets higher score, and that was 4.5, exactly the target. So the minimum 8.0, 8.5 out of 10, and maximum 9.0 out of 10. That's typically the target that we're aiming. And in general, just for fellow hoteliers in the audience, in general, that either very luxurious 5-star, 6-star hotels or hostels tend to get higher scores. Meaning that if you are in the mid segment, 3-star, 4-star segment, and get 8.5, 9.0, you're exceeding a lot of your competitors, and that's what we are trying to do.
And do you also raise the price because of that score? So meaning it's justified to start asking a bit more money for your rooms? I know this situation in a very competitive market is maybe not wise, but before COVID, would you see that you're able to get better rates in Chiang Mai because your score increased?
Yes, definitely. I think that helps us a lot, and that's one of the indicators for us to set a price as well. And of course, it's one of the elements, but still, it's how much confident we are on pricing compared with the competitors. Mm-hmm. So our concept for revenue management and concept for reputation management, same, and we're on a same page to compare apple to apple on that. Yeah.
Okay. And Pranjal, is there any way that we can see that benchmarking in the platform on the revenue side, since we're talking about how to grow revenue, is that a part that is currently available, or maybe something that could be considered if it's not there?
Yes, I think that's a very valid question, Bas, because eventually that is our claim, that if you have really done well, then you deserve to increase your pricing. And then we are, in fact, in certain cases, we are providing a rate shopping tool which is fully integrated with the reputation score.
Okay.
And there you can set filters, analyze the overall trend, their behavior, consume the data, both the rate data along with the reputation or the ORM score data, and see where it goes.
Interesting, because yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're putting a lot of money in our property, we're investing in it, and of course, the only way to derive the return on that investment is through majority is room rates. Ray, also in your presentation, you showed some impressive results on your GOP, a 40% growth in your GOP for one of the properties as a sample. I was wondering, and some of the people in the audience also asked the question, how did you do that? How did you generate through reviews, or what element of review management has contributed to the GOP growth of 40% in that particular case?
Right. I think because of Mr. Bas, the revenue manager for us.
Don't my lab now. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of several elements. Definitely the improvement of the hardware is there. New brand, new look, better fitting, better furniture, other things. Although the investment cost was not that high. And that is one, and also the very large element is training, hiring and training of staff, especially for resort location. The communication between staff and guests is more closer. So we are very careful on how staff communicate with guests. So definitely the review is one of the ways to keep improving our engineering aspect and service aspect of it, And I think that's the a key result of it. And then of course together with revenue management, especially for low season. And I think that's the time that Bas and I spend a lot of time on how we want to feel and not to feel for rooms in low season, for very long low season in Krabi from May to April to October. So we try to maintain at least half of the rooms to be filled. That is something that we have a lot of difference between independent hotels not really paying attention on revenue management or reputation management versus us trying to do our homework every day to keep improving. I think that the big difference was the low season rather than high season. Yeah.
And you're using actually the learnings from one property in the newer properties that you're opening up to set the score, right? Do you see it's easier now that you have this tool on one hand, but you have also the learnings from where you see that the customers have given you feedback, positive and negative, right? Is it easier to start up a new property? I know that you're working in a new property for Tonglo, Bangkok, opening soon. Are you seeing that this is going to be easier now that you have that information from Repup, from your customers to improve and modify your product to that extent per property?
Yes, definitely. I think many of the things that we know even before getting reviews, especially for Kokotel branded properties. So something that we can do beforehand, and there are accumulated experience that we got from other properties. So that's definitely getting easier for us to do. And maybe one issue which is still difficult is rather ranking in OTA itself. So that algorithm is honestly a little bit of a black box, and I think they keep changing also.
Yeah.
So managing a reputation score and reply review is something that is pretty controllable from us to do proactively. But if you ask me for the most important point of the ranking itself, unfortunately, it's not directly linked with review score. It's one of the elements, I guess. So that one is a little bit tricky, and I have to admit that it's still struggling to find out a way to try to increase.
Okay. And Pranjal, in your spectrum, have you seen hotels running a certain cost benefit contributing to the GOP, right? So have they enhanced certain elements? Is it cheaper to do marketing, perhaps? Is it easier to retarget your customers? Can you maybe elaborate a bit on that? How could the system contribute to the GOP growth on that platform, on that perspective?
Yeah, so I will put it this way. So we help you sense sentiment of your guest, and we are also the central database of all your guest related comments and everything. So at a certain stage, this data can be used to retarget those guests. So imagine you want to run a promotion for let's say Christmas, New Year. Maybe you will pick a database which is already lying in a Repup system and send them a specific mailer targeting them because they were a happy customer or because they were a neutral customer, and invite them to book directly. So it's not just about capturing and understanding the data, but it's also how do we leverage it for our future benefit, and that can be done by reaching out to the same set of guests, by doing some upselling to them, and by bringing them back directly. Not OTA, but if a customer is booking directly, if we are able to maintain an automated process once they have left.
Pranjal, maybe just to stop you for a moment, can you check your mic, because we hardly hear you the last minute.
Okay. Yeah, I guess a little bit of a connection issue also, I guess. Maybe you can talk closer to the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is it better now?
Much better. Much better.
Okay. Sorry, I think it slipped. Yeah. So it's not just about collecting the data, but it's also about how do we use this data. And imagine that once you sense that these are my happy customers, and you are able to see a trend that these guys visit one of these cities once every year, you can target them directly. If you can bring them back to your own brand website instead of all the OTAs where you have to shell out a huge commission. So that's where we come in play, not just limited to helping you assess and improve, but also we help you use that data and do a lot more with your customers. Imagine a case where you are able to upsell a lot of things like airport pickup, drop, or maybe a spa, or if you have those kind of amenities. There are a lot of people who are looking for recommendation for scuba and water sports if they are coming in a city. So we go beyond the reputation part and we become the true partner in delivering an excellent guest journey. And that starts from managing reviews, but eventually we help you deliver each and every aspect of it. So that's the larger framework where a larger platform or a CRM platform like us can help you beyond ORM.
Great. So you're actually also contributing to the sales process of getting new or getting even your existing customers to come back, driving more revenue from these guests. And Ray, as you mentioned, your operating excellence gets even better by using the reviews input scores as well to improve operation methods. I've just received another chat Q&A on the chat coming in, and let's bring this in. How do you think that the review in other media like Facebook or Google My Business, or do you how do you try to get more direct bookings than OTA? So will the review management, and I think Pranjal, this comes back to what you said earlier, like how you can engage directly. How can you get more direct bookings using that information, what you said?
So I will put it this way. The first time if you are getting a customer from OTA, it's perfectly fine. And you share a commission with your provider. But if that guest is coming second time also through an OTA, it's your mistake. And that mistake can be avoided by maintaining a process where you continue to be in their mind through an automated process, because you cannot have a process where you are interacting with, let's say, 100,000 guests who have stayed with you in a very personalized manner. But you need certain processes and certain systems, and that's where a good CRM comes in play, where you can define a journey. So you can set that once they leave, after 7 days we'll send this, after 90 days this kind of mailer will be sent, after 180 days of their departure this kind of mailer will be sent. Maybe after 6 months, we will send a small voucher, right? Say that, hey, come back. If you're planning a vacation to Thailand again, you should come and book direct with us this time. We are also offering you this. So instead of passing that commission to OTAs, the data can be used. You maintain the data, you own the relationship with your guests, and be in touch with them in a fully automated manner, and give them enough reasons to directly engage with you. A good platform can implement these kind of automated processes, and that results in more direct booking.
So you're saying really by owning the customer, don't let them come back through an OTA, but engage with them directly.
Yes.
Ray, you mentioned as well, I mean, and I know Kokotel is active on Facebook, Google My Business. I'm not so sure. In regards to Facebook and reputation management or comments, how do you deal with that, and how do you engage, and where does Repup fits in there?
Yes, in terms of online direct booking, I think I agree with Pranjal 100% that it's very important for repeat guests to bring them into kokotel.com for direct bookings, and that's what we are continuously trying to do. And Facebook is also for us is one element of the CRM with keep communicating with past guests, rather than like making a huge buzz in social media to try to let people know about Kokotel. So it's not like trying to get reviews on Facebook, but trying to keep communicating with the existing guests. That's what we are doing. So one thing what we do for Facebook, on the other hand, is more on a influencer marketing these days. So and also for our guests on their Facebook page, or influencers their Facebook page to promote our hotel, and that in my opinion is more effective than doing creative things in our own Facebook presence, which is more limited to existing guests.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, I mean, on Facebook and the different platforms. I mean, Pranjal, you mentioned at the beginning already, you could easily be presented over 40 different platforms in different countries. One of the questions that comes up, like, how do you operate multilingual issues, especially replying to the comment on the review? Ray, you mentioned you're replying it in Japanese, but how can you do this? Pranjal, does your platform provide multi-language support?
Yes. So there are two parts to it. First one is understanding a foreign language review. So, and that is important for your internal analysis. So that we provide, there is a button, you can press it and immediately it gets converted into English. The second part is replying. So what we suggest is, if we do not have internal competencies in, let's say, 20 plus languages, which is really difficult to have at any property level, what we suggest is we can take help and create different templates in, let's say, top 5 languages. If you know that you are getting guests from, let's say, India, Singapore, Malaysia, and let's say China, and this for sake of it, Spanish, you are also getting Spanish guests. So we will create, let's say, 15 or 10 different templates in these 5-7 languages, and that can be stored on our platform. And you can pick one of those templates, communicate a part of it, and if you want, you can also add certain hyper personalized in English. So one option is either you read, analyze it, and reply in English, or second option, create, maybe invest a couple of hours, take help from a couple of people, and use our platform to store multilingual replies in a specific template. And that can be used to communicate certain points. You can still add 1 or 2 language of hyper-personalized context-related things, but a majority of that can be Japanese or Spanish or maybe in Hindi reviews. So that kind of thing can be done using the platform.
Okay, great.
Interesting.
And Ray, I mean, you're using the, not templated structure, but I saw in your reply of reviews, you're using a certain introduction and the base. Have you used multilingual replying already in the property?
Yes, this is actually a very good point, and we have struggled a lot at this time. So conclusion is currently we don't do, we reply in English and Thai only for at this moment, unless something is very, very negative, serious negative reviews, like I mentioned. We have tried auto translate for our reply, which didn't really work well, and we tried
really
we tried the template for Chinese, asking our Chinese intern to create the templates for reply as well, which was a bit operationally challenging on that. But I guess that probably one good advice I got from Pranjal right now is to have probably the opening sentences and closing sentences in Chinese, for example. And if it's nothing serious, we can just send it as it is. And if you really need to add something customized, maybe you can add it in English. That's not the most beautiful way, but I guess it's very practical, and I guess we can try that.
Excellent. So operational improvements further on. Right? Okay. We're getting almost to the end of this Q&A session. I have one question, and maybe this is my own question here while I have both of you in front of me. We've seen TripAdvisor as the major platform for guest reviews. However, the OTAs have become quite strong in that game as well. They more or less have surpassed. We see it also for some of the Kokotel hotels, right? There's more reviews on Agoda than there is on TripAdvisor or other platform. What is your take on TripAdvisor? Will they remain? Will they disappear? Or what will be the new aggregator of reviews that we all need to know about and how to manage them? Ray, any takes from you?
Yeah, that's difficult question for me to answer. And I can see the tendency compared with the time, like 5 years ago, I started this business, the presence of TripAdvisor is clearly going down, I can see, and it's more dependency on OTA itself to get reviews and select. And I guess that more presence is coming from Google for people to look at the Google for the first time and come to OTA from the Google search. So that shift is clearly there, but I'm not trying to intentionally ignore TripAdvisor or anything. So I'm aware of the shift in the power game. But if you ask me, like, what I do for that is not so much on things, honestly speaking. Yeah.
Okay.
If I
So
get
my
any
take on
insights from Pranjal, is I'll be very, very interested to hear.
Okay, Pranjal, any comments from your side? Who's the big
yeah. So I think
newcomer maybe that you know about that we all looking desperate to hear about?
so. As you summarized it correctly, I think the one of the fastest growing platform would be Google, and we have already seen that the quality of reviews on Google is already going up. It was an irrelevant platform 1 year ago, but today we are getting requests to include it in one of their top priorities. Certain things they are doing pretty well. But my take on TripAdvisor would be as long as OTAs are consuming their reviews, as long as Yatra, ClearTrip, and 100 plus platforms like that are showing TripAdvisor reviews, it will remain significant. Maybe it may not retain the most important platform tag, but over next couple of years, I see that that will still be one of the important platforms. Certainly, Facebook had changed a lot of things by introducing their own review mechanism, and Google is something which is one of the most serious player in this space. A lot of OTAs will also move away from these platforms to maybe using a unified solution. That might also happen, that instead of everybody having their own review platform, we might see that 3 or 4 platforms become authority in this space, and those 3-4 platforms will be used across different places. But only time can tell those things. So,
That's true.
but over next few midterm or short-term predictions, TripAdvisor will remain significant, and Google we should take more seriously.
Excellent. Well, I think we have a lot of great input here from both of you. Thank you so much for your insights, how to drive more profit from your online reviews. Great takeaways. Don't go too quick boosting reviews if certain operation inefficiencies are there, or fixing some of the negative reviews first before you're going to boost them. Repup is a great platform to accelerate that. And as we've learned as well, we can get a lot of positive influences also on operations, how to train your staff, how to work with your engineering department and take away inefficiencies to get better reviews. And as Ray even mentioned, get better ADRs and RevPARs, so outperform the rest of your comp set. So I think very useful. I hope that the attendees today as well have taken their keynotes with them. And I think here we end the Q&A, and back to Kun Kem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bas. And next is the time for our introduction about our services and everything. We will start from